Welcome to episode 3 of the Process Breakdown podcast. In today's interview, you will discover how an entrepreneur whose business converts your old-fashioned home videotapes into modern DVDs and digital format was able to systematize his entire business and now literally only works 15 minutes a week, travels the world, and yet generates $200,000 a year in profit. Before we get started, a quick word from our sponsor. Are you tired of being a bottleneck in your business? You want to make sure that you get everything out of your head and document it so that your employees know how exactly you get tasks done? Sign up for a free 14-day trial of Sweet Process. Also, if you're already documenting procedures for your business, but you're not satisfied with the tools that you are using because they're too complex and your employees don't really know how to use them, it's a much easier way to systematize your entire business. Sign up for a free 14-day trial of Sweet Process. Now, let's get started with the interview. Hi, everyone. My name is Owen McGabinao, and welcome to Process Breakdown, where I get on successful entrepreneurs who come on here and tell you exactly how they build systems in their businesses that allow them to be able to run their businesses literally on autopilot without as much involvement from their part. And my guest today is Phil Thomas from gutmemories.com. Phil, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm very excited because during our pre-interview, you mentioned how you literally work 15 minutes a week, and yet you generate over $200,000 in profit per year. Not even the run rate, but actual profit. So that is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's not something that happens overnight, but it is the truth. Here I am living proof. So,
awesome. And so, look, the listener right now, I'm sure they're curious and like, okay, what is your company all about, and what's the big pain that you solve for your customers?
GotMemories.com is a company that converts videotapes, film, all of the old media formats that everyone used to shoot, and all their home movies back from as early as the 1920s up to like the 1990s with camcorder tapes and such. So we put them in a digital form so people can access them, watch them online, put them on DVD, they can edit them, share them with friends and family around the world.
Awesome. So basically, as they keep on bringing this new technology, and we have the old technology of how you're capturing memories. What your company does is basically takes all that, old school cameras and all that, and brings it into the new tech age, the digital format, I guess.
Yes, correct.
That is very awesome. And also, just so people can understand kind of like the scope of, employees that you have, how many employees you have? I'm just curious.
I have 4 full-time employees that are on location in Tempe, Arizona, which is part of Phoenix. And I also have 2 contractors that work in England, where I'm at right now. And so I work, between those 2 places.
Awesome. And so you mentioned that you made about $200K in profit last year. I'm just curious so that the listeners know that this is not something that just happened overnight. You're actually doing this on a yearly basis. What was kind of like the turnover for the last couple of years, if you can give so we can understand what you're doing there?
The turnover from the last couple of years, last year was 200,000. The year before was about 150,000, and the business has been going for 10 years. So it started to make money on its own without my full-time involvement after about 5 years.
Awesome. And the reason I'm asking that, just in case the listeners are wondering, is I want the listener to understand that I actually bring on proven entrepreneurs on here who will have employees who have businesses that are actually making money, and we want to learn from them. And that's why I ask these questions ahead of time. And so let's go back a little bit. What would you say is kind of the lowest point in your business back in the day, and describe how bad did it get?
Are you talking about emotionally or mechanically?
Let's go both ways then. Maybe let's talk about emotions and also the mechanics behind it as well, because I want people to understand where you were before, and we can take them to where you are now based on the systems you have. I just want them to have a peek into what it was before.
Yeah. probably the lowest point emotionally, is probably about 5 years ago. One of the things that, was kind of linked together, so mechanically, we had equipment that was breaking down a lot. It was very cumbersome. We had, quality issues here and there, retention of staff, and that was then directly linked to the emotional low point as well, because you're kind of at a point where you go, well, what do I do? Do I pack it in? Do I just go get a day job and clock in and clock out? Mm-hmm. Or am I at a point here where most people give up and, see that roadblock and just do actually give it all up and get a clock in, clock out job? Yeah. And I think so those points in the business is where you go, aha, this is where most people give up. If I get over this and figure out what's going on and figure out the best way to overcome it and improve, then, you're in kind of like a whole new group of people that start to realize, understand business and understand these ups and downs. So the low point was equipment, and the only option was spending quite a bit of money in buying the right equipment, finding the right equipment. So you could automate processes and retain staff and reduce the amount of time it takes to do what you're doing, so therefore lower your prices as well and bring in more customers with the lower prices.
I'm just curious, just so that we can, the listeners can kind of get like a concrete example. You mentioned that one of the issues was, you didn't have as much reliability from the employee side, and it was a pain to train them. Can you just share a story with us as to that can give more, highlight that point a little bit more if that comes to mind?
Yeah. In our industry, for instance, film transfers, there isn't too much equipment out there to do it, in a very speedy way. Equipment is expensive, so you've got to kind of rely on more antiquated methods, and equipment that breaks down. You've got a projector, and this is typically how it is done in the industry, and you're filming it off of a wall, and it's quality issues, and there's so many things that can go wrong in that whole antiquated process. And, I basically, I just thought this is no good, and we have to spend the money and do it right and research the different types of equipment out there, the processes, and, it's just such a more fun, pleasurable experience now transferring film is one particular area I'm talking about. And we can also, and this leads into other areas, we document our processes now with video to the customers so they can actually see how we're doing it and we're doing it right, and giving them an educational experience as well. So
on the employee side, I'm just curious, so you've mentioned the equipment side where you had issues with the equipment, but on the employee side, was there any kind of thing that you can remember back in the day of how it wasn't as reliable of, in terms of results that you were getting? If you can share a story with us to make that point concrete as well.
So where I had unreliable staff that, in terms of the processes, in terms of, there was, in terms of relating to equipment and the processes and stuff, before we upgraded, there was a lot of ways to make mistakes. And you really had to watch the staff to make sure they were doing it correctly. Corners could easily be cut. Training time, there were so many pieces to the puzzle. And, to try and get somebody to do it correctly and right, you literally had like a 15-step process, as opposed to afterwards you had like a 3-step process. So it was a lot more clearer once we upgraded and did everything the correct way, or upgraded equipment and the processes. It's just less to train, it's less for them to think about, less chances for them to make a mistake, and if they're making a mistake they get deflated, and I'm no good at this and this is too hard, and then all of a sudden you've got something that's easy and fun and they go, yay, I'm good at this, and they are, because the equipment is kind of 85% of doing the work that they used to do. So it's all about morale, and And then, if it's more fun, they're going to stay, and they're going to grow with the company, and they're not going to give up. And that is, that's huge.
So you said in 2007 you actually end up, taking the plunge in buying the equipment, and that made it easier for the actual work, the results to be more reliable. And then on top of that, you also decided that you wanted to improve the quality of training so that you can basically increase the retention of the employees, and maybe when you hire them, make it quicker for them to get started. So I want to just jump into specifics behind what kind of business systems you have in place now, because in 2007 you made that change. So let's jump into some of those systems you have in place in your business, I guess.
Other systems in 2007, we had so many different pieces to the puzzle. We had invoicing program that was based on one computer, and they stopped supporting it. That we had a website that was all over the place, and the sales process was just all over the place. And so one thing I got, there was a point where I just got so sick of repeating myself to customers and to staff as well. Yeah. And it very quickly started to move into, how do I use things that have been generated, like web apps and blogs where people have already done it before and they've got it documented. Mm-hmm. And you start to basically realize that it's all been said and done before, and why reinvent the wheel? So I started to use things like FreshBooks.com mm-hmm. for invoicing, for estimates, and it was easy, it was clean, it was so great for the customer to see, it was professional, but on the other end, the staff enjoyed using it. And that was a big moment as well. And started to use YouTube for my staff to understand the most frequently asked questions. So I got so sick of repeating myself to customers that I started to make videos just so I didn't have to repeat myself every single day, 100 times a day with the same questions. And so when the staff would get asked these questions, they would divert customers to the FAQ page, and they go, oh yeah, number 3, and they'd watch a video on me talking about it. And then the staff used to learn from watching these videos, and so were the customers as well. So it was kind of like a two-way thing. And also the staff were, they had these videos that which customers really liked. They were with me in them, and I'm confident, and I'm in front of the camera and everything. And it gave them the confidence because I was actually taking the time to make the company look professional and so forth. And again, they have more pride and retained them because I was putting in as much effort as they were.
And I'm curious, because during the pre-interview you mentioned how you literally created a book where you had certain procedures in place and actually documented procedures. Let's jump into that a little bit. How did you even get started with that? What did you even start documenting at first? We want to understand, how you literally broke down what you do step by step in procedures for your team.
Well, we created a book. It was the Got Memories Bible, and it's literally that is the cover of it, and I've still got it sitting around. And it's filed away, and it's got everything written in there. And if anyone had any questions as what to do, they went to that book and looked it up. And it also clarified for me as well when I was writing it out. And wow. I'd write it out, and I would say, wait a minute, that's 4-step process right there. And that, when I read it out, that doesn't seem right. That could be 2 steps. So as I was writing it out for the staff, I was actually, inspiring myself to simplify it even more. And so that was pretty much how that started. I also brought in a consultant. Okay. And then realized that the consultant was confusing matters even more and wanting to add more steps. So I got, and that's a whole nother blog right there. So we've got it around, and now with companies like SweetProcess.com, everything, you basically want to take that and have it in the cloud, and and have it accessible anywhere, anytime, any location. So
thanks for the plug. But I
yeah,
also talk about something where, because a lot of people will look at documenting procedures, there's certain fiction that will come into their mind, or things that will want to make them do it. And I'm trying to figure out from a mindset standpoint, how did you get past that mindset and actually say, okay, this act of me documenting my procedure step by step is actually an investment as opposed to taking my time? What tricks did you use to get past that mindset, for do it?
Okay, so I mean, myself, I'm a firm believer for motion to happen, you need emotion behind it. And my biggest drive, everyone always in business tries to look about more money, more this, more, like, oh my God, there's a million things to think about. Mm-hmm. And round about 2007, my son was born. And my wife is a flight attendant. She travels around the world on private jets, and she's gone for sometimes weeks at a time.
Nice.
So I wanted to spend as much time with my son as possible at home or somewhere else other than the office. Even though I used to take him to the office in a baby Bjorn, and and so I was very lucky to have that. But as he got older, the crying and having him in the background and disrupting staff and so forth, I was like, how do I remove myself completely from this business so I don't have to put him in daycare? Mm-hmm. And that honestly was my biggest motivator. I had to do it, otherwise I had to put him in daycare. And nothing against daycare, it's just something that I didn't want, for a very young baby. So really, that was my biggest motivation was him. And
I think we got the biggest motivation. So that you did the mindset by having a big why behind it. But now there's the actual mechanics of doing it. So you got the big why. The mechanics of doing it now, I'm just trying to see, what challenges you have with the mechanics of actually literally documenting your procedures and how you overcame them.
I literally sat down and went through every single step of the business. From first when a couple of different areas. So when a customer first comes to the website and they place an order, what are they doing? And they go from A, B, C. And I basically drew it out to about 6 steps. And how do I automate everything using autoresponders, forwarding web pages with videos, mm-hmm. where they're not calling up, taking up staff time, wasting their time as well, mm-hmm. and not having to make any phone calls or anything. So I literally went through every single step and documented everything. But also in that process, I came up with a solution to that step as well, kind of like a substep, by making a video and making a web page to explain it to customers, and then also to staff as well. And then put it all together in a book, and also took action and documented it on the website as well, in terms of helping customers get to where they want to go without having to pick up the phone or send an email, therefore making it easier for them to give us money.
Awesome. I like that, and I like the way you've broken it out, how you did it. But one of the things I also like to do is, give listeners a kind of an example that makes it even more concrete. So let's jump into the business and say, okay, what was the first thing you started with? What was the first task that happened on a recurring basis that you felt you had to start documenting, and why? And maybe kind of walk us through how you did it. That way, the listener can use that as a starting point in their own business. Do you understand the question?
So basically, let's talk about a process of when an order comes through our front door.
Okay.
And let's say, and one thing with us is every single piece of media that we have, these are people's home movies, and they're very precious, and you cannot misplace anything. All the videotapes look the same, look alike. And you want to keep everything, so the customer sends in 50 videotapes and they're going to get 50 videotapes back, and they're all theirs and so forth, and they're done right. So when it comes to a particular process is when we get a package in, mm-hmm. and we open up the box, what do we do? And using like FreshBooks and other different programs, we've basically set out a system where we're using Ziploc bags, certain size Ziploc bags, certain size IKEA boxes to put everything in. We're using stickers on every single tape, which are the invoice numbers. They're all sealed up and put into these boxes and zipped up, and then put on a particular shelf, and then they're given an order that they go in on the shelf. And IKEA was a big help with that, with automating our processes just through furniture and all the different knickknacks that we use to basically make a conveyor belt, so to speak, of everything. So checking in jobs has been completely documented on one, literally about 6 steps, and everything's written down on tables. And this has all been, a lot of it's been implemented by the staff. So, I give them a lot of freedom, a lot of leeway, and we work together to come up with these systems. So it's their idea, and they know it, they've created it. I've got great staff, and they're very organized. And, that's one of our biggest points, is staying organized, and we know where everything is at any given time within our building.
And I like that. And the reason why I wanted you to give an example is that, the goal is for the listeners to say, okay, this is my business, and your business is definitely different from theirs, because you actually literally have to receive physical goods from people in terms of tapes and all that. And you literally have to create a system that goes in from when you get the tape. What do you do, to get it all the way to an end point where they now have the digital copy. So the listener listening to this has to say, okay, for my own business, depending on what I'm doing, I have to look at it from like a journey, from when the customer comes in, how do we get them, what are the different steps in place. And you just kind of broke down your intake process. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the same as the listener, but I just wanted you to say that so that they understand the reasoning behind how you created procedures for that very task, the intake process in your business. And one thing you mentioned was how you said that you literally empower your employees to kind of help, to take, you've created the initial foundation of the procedures, but you have empowered them to take it to the next level. And I'm curious how, and how does that even benefit you?
My motto is, the less fingerprints on everything, the better. The less time, and usually the most, how can we make the job more fun and more enjoyable? How do we create a better, the questions are, how do we get customers work in and out, make them happy, and make the job more enjoyable for all of us, which usually involves less steps. So I've sat down with them, everything from furniture arrangement, where a desk goes and where the computers are. So it just all flows, and I empower them to create their own workspaces and what works for them. I've been an employee myself, which I think helps once you've got your own business, because you know what it feels like on both sides. But when it is their idea, there's a sense of pride there, and there's less friction. I think there's a lot of owners out there that just want to do it their way, and they're not there 40 hours a week. So, I like to give the staff to take out of their brain all of the time. Half the time, they've got better ideas than I do. If there's ever questions, I just throw that question back at them, and I'll go, what would you do? And I'd say half the time they come up with an answer, and I'm like, oh, that is way better idea than I ever had.
And I'm curious, just so that we can have it, have it be more concrete in the mind of the listeners, because I'm always about empowering the employees to improve the procedure. Your job is to create a foundation, but we empower them to take it to the next step. Is there an example you can share with us, like an aha moment that you got based on getting feedback from your employees that you guys actually improved the procedures for what you guys are doing?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's quite a few. I'm trying to think of something recent. Right now we've got a new piece of equipment that has been put in place by the manufacturer, and there's been some problems, and I used to get involved in the middle of going back and forth between the manufacturer. The staff would communicate to me, and then it would filter back to the manufacturer, the rep, and then it came back through me, and then back to them. We eliminated me from the middle, and I've been kind of on the outside just recently with a big problem, and with one of this new piece of equipment, and it hasn't really been tested that much. But my staff have actually come up with the solution themselves beyond what the manufacturer could come up with. And now they're working directly with the manufacturer, and they've helped them, improve a product. But so that's one kind of area where I just stepped out of the way, and and given them the respect that they've got a brain, and have a good amount of intelligence to figure out the problem themselves and improve the process there and the steps, and so we can all get the quality product out on time.
And one of the things that a lot of people also struggle with is this giving up of control, because now you just give an example of how, before now when you're having a problem with an equipment, they would have to insert you into it. And now in this case, this example, you literally took yourself out, and they have taken over the process and are even helping to improve, when you're in that whole step that you just mentioned. But how does it feel to just literally let go? What kind of struggles did you have to challenge that you struggled with in terms of giving up control?
It's big. It's a huge. It is the biggest step that you have to do, is to trust that they're going to do it. I mean, I've seen my own habits. I see other entrepreneurs' habits. I mean, it's the biggest thing that I see. They just, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. I could get this done in 3 minutes, and it's going to take them 15, and they haven't even given them a chance yet. And it is really hard to let go. But once you do, it's kind of like your child, when you've got a baby and you just don't let anyone near it, and you want to feed it, and you want to do everything because nobody else knows your child. And it's kind of like that. And once it starts to mature a little bit, you go, I'm going to go let them walk on their own. And yeah, they might bang their head, and get little cuts and scrapes. But at the end of the day, they're you see them 10 years later, and they're mountain biking down a hill, and you go, well, you're not even thinking twice about it, and it's 10 times more dangerous than anything you ever thought they'd be doing. But it's okay to let go. And what's the worst that could happen? I think it's good to start with a very small thing, something very simple, straightforward. Yes, it might take them a little bit of extra time, but just let them do it, and just sit back and remind yourself that it's okay. And they're going to, really it's about, wanting, what do you want from this business? Do you want to be in it every single day, or do you want to go? Do you want to have a life? And I see, many entrepreneurs that, escaped the 9 to 5, and now they're in the 6 a.m. to 12 midnight week. And it's because they will not let go. And if they took some of the advice from their day job, and how they had bosses, and they were competent in what they did, somebody trusted them at some point to take over, and it's time to let someone else. They might not be the greatest person doing that job at the time, but at least you're going to learn as you go, and go, okay, well, that person might not be good for that job. Let's get someone in that can be. But yeah, it's a huge step. But once you do it once, twice, you get kind of addicted to letting go. You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna see how it goes, and what's the worst that could happen.
And I'm curious too, because now we're talking about letting go and giving up control. There must have been something from your own experience that was a little bit more difficult than everything else to let go of control. And if you can shed some light on it, what was it, and how did you finally get past it to let go to your employees? I'm just curious.
I think the biggest thing was letting employees handle customers' media and transfer the film. I'd created my own system in my head when I was transferring film to video and DVD, many years ago. Yeah. So I'd done it so long that I thought I was the only person that could do it this good. And I remember the first time I really let someone else do it, and I'm standing over them, and I'm literally like, oh, and I'm being really critical. Yeah. And, and then I'd still be in the room, but I'm listening, and I'm looking, and I'm like, and then I remember the first time I actually walked out of the room, with them doing it, and I'm like, oh, that feels kind of good, actually. And then then after a couple of days, you know, you're like, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee up the road. And then you with the coffee, you know, you're at Starbucks and you're just going, actually, I'm making money right now. You know, like this feels kind of good. And you come back an hour later or so and you go, oh, they've done okay. And I've just made $200. You know? And you go, okay, can I make $1,000? You know, maybe I should. And then you start to do more fun things. You know, I'm going to go out mountain biking, and they're coming in at 9 o'clock, and I'm out mountain biking. And if there's any problems, these days you got your cell phone. They can text you, they can video chat with you. There's so many things as opposed to even 5-10 years ago you couldn't do. So there's constant contact now. And really, there's no better time to let go than that. So, yeah, it's a really good feeling, though. I mean, you've got to focus on what you want and why, and the feeling that it's going to give you, the emotion that it's going to feel when you're at your kid's soccer game and someone else is doing the work for you.
And I'm also curious, too, is I like the point you just shared. And the next question I have is basically, now you showed us how you've created kind of procedures for your teammates to handle several different recurring tasks in your business. But then there's also the question that in the mind of the listener is, how do you exactly know that they're delivering the results that you want them to deliver? What ways are you verifying and tracking that the results are coming out the way you want? So let's shed some light on that.
Yeah, it's a great question, because you can get sloppy with letting go. You can start to live in this illusion that everything's great. And on the back end, all of a sudden, you've got customer complaints are up, things aren't getting shipped on time, especially now with review sites.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple bad reviews on there and a couple bad experiences, and these people are really pissed off, and they're going to write a novel. And there's people that all they do is they go down Yelp or wherever, and there's 1,000 great reviews, but there's 3 bad reviews, and I'm going to go straight to the bad reviews.
Yep. I definitely do that when I read looking for new books. I just go to the bad review first. Let me see the bad review.
What was the problem here, and also very important, how is it rectified?
Mm-hmm.
You have to always respond to those bad ones. But get in on point. So, we have within FreshBooks, there's a ticket system. Mm-hmm. Customers can log in if there's a problem, there's a ticket. We also we're on all the review sites as well. We also get a lot of work through eBay, so we've got the whole feedback system as well. I kind of judge it by the ticket system. If there's problems, I monitor. Usually once a week, I'll take a quick look, or my manager will take a quick look over the reviews. But generally, it's amazing. I mean, I'll be gone for 2 months and come back, and it's literally like, what's going on, and there's no problems whatsoever. I'd be hearing about it. I have my email, my personal cell phone number on our website. And if anybody wants to speak to the owner, they have my name. I'm over the website. I'm all over the web. Videos of me with my face with my name. So if there are any major problems, I'm an open book. I mean, I'm very accessible.
One of the things you also mentioned during the pre-interview was how, because the way your team is structured, they kind of work in tandem together. And if there's a missing piece, they kind of are holding each other accountable. Can you shed some more light on that?
Yeah. We have a motto, we never want to see the same piece of media again, ever. It should be done right the first time. If we have some work in and it's done incorrectly, well, people on the front end are going to get the grief. The customer complaining, and then they've got to work out, go in the ticket system, they've got to create a shipping label, call tag, and to get FedEx to pick it back up again, it's going to be shipped across the country, then we've got to redo it, and then we've got to ship it back again, and it's just all these different processes. And when we're so busy, it's the last thing that we need. It's just more dead work, everybody has a place, and if somebody hasn't pulled their weight, or if it's a silly problem, we all come down on each other. I mean, it's a very constructive way of coming down, but, they're all very respectful of each other, and literally, everyone's got each other's back. If there's a problem, they'll get together and they'll solve the problem, when the work comes back in, or if there's a problem in-house, they'll work as a team, and they all work very closely on that to make sure that we're not getting grief from the customers, and the customers aren't getting grief from our work.
And what I hear from that is like, I feel like your business is kind of like a conveyor belt. Something, you know how like you think of a conveyor belt like a manufacturing, like a car manufacturer where the parts come in and they put the pieces together, and on the other end is the car. I kind of get that sense like, it's a conveyor belt kind of like.
It is like that, yeah. It is. We've simplified as well, talking about processes. I mean, there's many different things that we could be doing in our business. And some of our competitors, they have, a lot of different options, and they do all different other types of media, audio, and all this other stuff that we don't do. And we keep it very simple for a reason, just so we have we're great at this block of stuff, and it works well with the equipment we've got, and it simplifies our business greatly. So we can, work, get a lot of work in and knock it out very quickly and efficiently with a very high quality. And we're not trying to be masters of everything. That's not there.
It's one thing to basically, when you're doing the work yourself, right? It's one thing to document how the work is being done so that you can deliver it to the front end guys, the employees who are going to do the work. But then you mentioned how you have a manager. Now, how did you create a system so that the manager can take over you and manage over from you and manage your employees on your behalf? Is there any things that you can share with us based on what you've learned on creating a system on which managers can use to manage on your behalf?
Yeah, I think with the manager, for me, because it is a small business, I had created a person, within work, but we also had a personal rapport as well, and very similar personalities. So there was a lot of unspoken stuff. We just knew what was going on just with eye contact and movement. So, one of the biggest things that was taken over was sales and emails and responding to emails. So, really that was her biggest thing, and also having the respect of other employees as well. So I chose her out of everyone else because she had previous experience of managing people, and she wasn't afraid to speak up, and also to speak up to me as well. So that's a big thing as well. She's not afraid to speak her mind to me, and that is exactly why I have her in charge. She very good grammar, very good rapport with customers, doesn't flip out over things. It's just if there's a problem, she's as cool as can be, a really good maturity level, but does have management experience in the past, that's a big plus there. So I was very lucky.
So from a manager's standpoint,
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Be right there. That's my son, Sydney.
We almost done.
Yeah, he's all grown up now. So, but this is my reason for automating my business right here. Was this boy right here? So we can travel back to England and hang out for a couple months and get out of the Phoenix heat and hang out with the family and stuff. And anyway, I'll be right back. All right, I'll be down in a minute. Okay.
What are you doing?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have it in a sec. All right.
I like that. It's very real. The listeners watching this now is see real life. We're not even editing this stuff. And so okay.
No, that is as real as it gets. And some of my videos online, I've been doing. I've got a million videos, and some of them I've come up with ideas, and I'm in the middle of recording them, and he's in my office, and he'll pop in and just do the same thing, and you're like, oh, well, hello, there you are. So. That's what it's all about right there.
And one more thing on the topic of tracking for results. I get how you track the turnover, the profit, and customer service tickets based just to relate that to how the employees on the ground are actually doing their work. But how do you track on the manager's side? What metrics you use to gauge the manager to make sure that the manager is doing his work? You understand?
Well, sales and profitability, number one. I mean, they're in charge. She's in charge of the numbers, and you know, that is pretty much the bottom line right there. You know, if the numbers are down, there's some accountability, but you know, so far so good. So that is pretty much it. I mean, I check the numbers every day. I mean, on my iPhone, there's an app, and I just quickly look it up, and I'll do a quick scan. You know, sometimes every day, sometimes every couple days, depends on my mood and where I'm at. But yeah, and we're comparing them to last year's numbers. We have goals and targets for the beginning of the month, and the history, you know, of last year, the same month last year, and so on and so forth. And during the month, we'll do checks over the past 5 years of where we are in relation to, you know, the middle of the month of July 2011.
Like cohort analysis, right?
Exactly, yes. So, yeah, and that's pretty much, you know, the money is what it comes down to and where we're at. So
I love that, because from what I get from that is not only are you now delegating work to both on the employee side where they're doing, you know, customer facing or on work, or on the manager side where the manager is managing the employees, but on each level you're creating metrics to track the results for each level so that you can actually see that, hey, not only do they know how to do the work, but I'm actually verifying and trusting that they're getting the work based on the results I'm getting back.
yeah, yeah.
One thing you mentioned too was that how you have automated your marketing. You know, this is different now from systematizing and creating procedures for how work gets done. But I wanted you to shed some light on what exactly you did to automate your marketing.
Automation of the marketing, as I kind of talked about earlier, was me every day. The phone would ring, or a customer would come in, and they would be asking the same questions again and again. And I used to be running to that phone. If any other staff member, again, talking about letting go, I mean, it's certain letting go of the processes and you know, some of the manufacturing side of things, but letting go of sales, I mean, where you have to make that money. You've got payroll to meet, rent to pay, all, you know, families to support, and an employee picks up the phone and someone's like, "Hi, I want to give you money and lots of it," and they go, blah blah blah, and you're just like, oh, and you know how to sell. I mean, you literally mastered the process, you own it, and you know that $2,000 job would have been done. Yeah. So I used to literally dive for the phone every time it rang. Everyone in the office, if the phone was ringing and it wasn't a telemarketer or a number that they recognized, they would literally, it was like, they'd get out of the way. Yeah. Because running. And I'd grab that phone out of breath and I'd just be, you've got memories and phone. And I would just, and I had to sell every single time. And I got so sick of repeating myself every single day. I could only talk to one person at a time. It's not like I'm having a conference call or I'm staying in front of a bunch of people. Every single person, I was putting in the same passion, the same energy, and the same words again. And I could literally I was on autopilot, and I was just so bored with it that I just sat there one day and I'm like, there's two things here. I could make videos to empower the customer in finding out the information themselves and have the same level of energy and passion and everything, and they can see my face as well. And they can tell from the video whether I'm full of crap or not. Yeah. And have it on the website, and have it on YouTube, have it on Dailymotion, have it on Vimeo, have it on all these different sites. And that was a side bit. I didn't even know that was going to start happening. I just made it so I didn't have to repeat myself. Yeah. And my staff then had a little bit more confidence because they'd seen the videos, and also knowing that some of the customers had seen the videos, so they were like already pretty much sold because they'd seen Phil on the website, and they go, wow, you know, okay, it's a good website, good information, the videos, and the competition don't have these videos. So anyway, so I made those videos, and then very quickly, without me knowing, they started to go viral a little bit. In my industry, viral is, you know, top videos, 100,000 hits, maybe over a year or two, you know. But it's steady. And if you typed in certain keywords or, you know, long tail, there was my, you know, freeze frame face of people. And I started to, you know, just we're asking, where did you hear about us and so forth, or they'd be emailing saying, I saw your video, or I've seen your videos. And the great thing was, is they would, a lot of them, you didn't have to repeat yourself. If they were calling up, they already knew all the answers. I've been there for it. It was stunning. There was people, literally, I mean, still to this day, they go, I've spent an hour and a half on your website, I've watched all your videos, and I just had one extra question, and we're like, what is that? Because we obviously don't have a video on that one. Or just to like feel the business and go, okay. But these videos just started to get crawled, and other people were embedding them on their site for blog content, and newspapers were, if they did an article on it, they were using our videos, you know, like, oh, you might want to go here and click here for an explanation on this. And it was just started to spiral, you know, in a good way. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of by default. But that came from just not wanting to repeat myself and getting sick.
And I like that, because one of the things I learned from that now is that, you know, one of the things too is that a lot of times the founders are usually like the best salesman or saleswoman of the company. And what you literally did there is you literally replaced your sales skills by answering questions with the, you know, the excitement and all that you're showing here, answering questions that customers potentially have, turning that into education-based marketing, education-based products that people can actually watch on their own for free and get all the questions in advance and remove all the resistance even before they come to the employer. So the employee doesn't really have to be this kind of salesperson now. It's just, oh, this person is ready.
Yes, they're just taking orders. They're literally, they're there. Yes, we are open, we're here, we're alive, and we haven't closed down in the past 20 minutes since you stopped watching the video. That's pretty much it. You know, it's amazing because if ever I'm in the office, you know, I used to rush to the phones. Now I look at the phones and it's ringing and ringing. I'm like, is anyone? I'm out of the way. Like, they're running. They're like, oh. I'm like, whoa, okay. And I listen in and I'm like, oh, that my sales guy. I'm like, they're good, you know. But if I answer the phone, there's usually about 20% of the time people call me out by name. They go, oh, hi. And because of my accent, you know, the businesses in America, you know, they're like, oh, this has got to be the same guy I've just been watching. But a lot of them are laughing, or they'll call me by name. They're like, oh, Phil. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I've just been watching you for like an hour. And I'm like, wow, have you got anything better to do? But it's fantastic. I mean, and they just compliment on the videos. And it isn't just sitting in front of a webcam. I mean, I've spent quite a lot of time with the videos. And, you know, production value, you know, I try and keep it real, and it doesn't have to be fancy. But I think you just got to be passionate about, you know, what you do. You know, that definitely I am, and know what I'm doing. So
I like that, because you said that because of the way you've automated now, there's two things. You've systematized your business so that your team knows how to deliver the results based on you creating procedures. And on this other end, you actually automated your sales based on education-based marketing, your videos and all that. And one of the things you mentioned during the pre-interview is that because of your automation now of your sales, you literally have videos coming in from all over the world, and you are able to take on new customers regardless from where I mean, you say that. Like, why am I repeating it? You say it.
Yeah, Sydney. Oh, so okay, we've got an update here from Sydney. Okay, real quick. Yeah.
What?
Oh, okay. Can you? I'll be there. Okay.
We almost done, Sydney. We almost done.
Okay. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're on video right now. Wave. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when when we get work in from, you know, Italy, we get a lot of work from Australia. And it's crazy. I mean, I love to talk to those customers. If ever I get them on the phone, I'm like, what on earth possessed you to send your home movies 7,000 miles across the ocean? Because that's powerful right there. And I'm like, they're like, I've got a place up the road, and I could have taken my stuff 20 miles up the road, but I chose to send it to you guys because of the videos and the information that you provided. And you didn't have to do that, but you did. And if you take that much care and attention to your marketing, on the back end, you've got, you know, it reflects everything about your business. If you care enough to educate me, then you care enough to take care of my precious home movies. And that's true. That's not just true in my business, but that's true in everyone's business.
And we're almost done, so that I know Sydney is getting ready for you to come back. So we're almost done, and we have a couple more questions.
I think he just likes the limelight.
And so, we love how you've been able to literally remove yourself from your business. And one of the things that people might be listening is, what has been the longest time that you've been away from the business? I'm just curious.
The longest time I've been away from the business is 8 weeks, so
Wow.
2 months.
That is something. That is definitely something.
Yeah, I'm currently, right now, I'm on a 6-week vacation in England, in my hometown in Cheltenham, where all my family lives. So I've got a big family here, and I'm here with Sydney, and it's in Phoenix. This time of year, it's just 115 degrees, and there's nothing to do really other than go in the pool and sit in an air-conditioned house. So I literally just say goodbye, and then I get on a plane with him and fly over here and spend 6 weeks and travel all over. I mean, we've been literally on this trip over to Belgium and France. We're going up to Scotland in a couple of days, and he's having a real world vacation and a real world experience, something the school can't give him. We were over in Australia about 2 months ago for 3 weeks. I do pull him out of school a lot, so I'm kind of in trouble with the school sometimes because I do take him away on vacation quite a bit, and yeah. But, hello, can we shut the door? 1 second. Sydney, can you shut the door, please? Thank you. Can you shut the door, please? Thanks. Yeah. So.
And people are getting the real deal here. It's real. This is real stuff.
So most people, they don't understand. This is it. This is the end result, and this is the why. It's because you can go away and do these things and not have to worry about money and all the daily trappings that most people get into. So this is the goal, is to be able to do this kind of thing. So.
And one last question is, so now that you have all this time to do the stuff you want, I'm just curious, and you only work 15 minutes a week, 15 hours, is it 15 minutes in a week? What are you doing with that 15 minutes? Where are you spending that 15 minutes of your time in the business? I'm just curious.
I would say a minimum is 15 minutes on average. Right now, to be perfectly honest, we're working on a couple of little things, so it's more like an hour to two a week. But typically, what I'll do is I'll scan emails at the end of the day. If there's anything that needs my urgent attention, I'll respond. I'll look at the numbers, and I'll jot down some ideas that I've had, and then I'll forward those ideas or suggestions onto staff, and then get it implemented. I mean, it's literally, I just leverage a couple of seconds of thought and a quick email, and something's created from that. So once you do let go, you do get, as I said, you start to do less and less and less, and realizing that there's people out there that know way more than you, and are hungry to do a great job, and you could sit there and teach yourself and learn and so forth in something you're not really passionate about, when you can just hire someone and they love it, they're educated, and they can get it done a million times quicker.
So basically, because you're not working in the business, now you literally have more time to work on the business. I mean, that's a cliche, but that's really the reality behind it now.
Oh yeah, and when you do that, when you remove yourself from it, you can see it so much more clearly. Most people in their businesses, I kind of feel like I've mastered it. I mean, it has taken a long time. I mean, most people think of the quick fix and so forth, but I would say, it does take about 10 years to emotionally, mechanically people can get lucky very quickly, or they can build a business in a couple of years. But I think emotionally, it's taken me about 10 years to get a handle on it, because most people, when they see a problem, they just go, oh my God, that problem, and they just go crazy, and and then they do all this crazy stuff, and then they do push through eventually. Now I see a problem and I go, a problem. And I'm just much more cooler about it, and I look at the resources, and I know it's all happened before, and and I just step back and I just, go, all right, well, there's 3 options here, and this is the one we're going to go with. And if that doesn't work out, then we'll just do this one. So nothing flips me out these days like it used to. But that does take some time.
So I get from that, like, every problem is an opportunity to go back and fix the system. It's like a system building thing now.
Yeah, and never stop trying to, you can mess with things too much, but also, I'll be away from the business for 2 months, and I'll walk in, and it's very important not to start changing things immediately because the staff don't like that. But constantly looking to improve, and with the notion of let's improve this process because it's going to be less work for you, and and then you could do something, this, that, the other, and then when they understand that. Getting staff out of their habits is another whole other issue. But when I come from the opportunity, the part that it's going to benefit them, they listen a lot more intensively and a bit more willing. So
we're coming to the end of the interview, and one of the things I always like every guest to do is, what book, right, or what books or book have had the most influence on you and why? You can share the resources.
Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week. I got that beat by 3 hours 45 minutes a week. So that's always good. And the constant updates on his blog that he has. I've been to a lot of Tony Robbins seminars. For Awaken the Giant Within is a book I've read. One of the things that's very rarely talked about in business is a healthy mind, meaning exercise, eating right, that's huge. Having a great relationship with your wife, with your partner, because they are your business partner, yep, whether you admit it or not, they're very much involved in it. So I think it's, there's a lot of different scopes to business than just the shop and the door and opening it and figure out what's inside. It literally is 80% up here. Tony Robbins has been his information's been great. His seminar's been great. Tim Ferriss, also some of the other, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Break the Habit of Being Yourself, is another good book. So those are some of the things that I read.
Thank you very much. And I'm just curious, what's the best way for listeners to reach out to you and thank you for doing this interview?
Obviously gotmemories.com, phil@gotmemories.com, with 1 L. And, if you've got any stuff you need transferring, get it on over to us and we'll do a great job. Also, I've got another website called Let Go Video, and, Phil Let Go Video, or Twitter Let Go Video, and just giving you tips and tricks and, information on how to basically automate your business with video, getting you, the owner, in front of the camera and just letting go, and how to, free up your time and live your life, how it's intended, which is with your family and traveling the world. So
let me do a quick promo to the listeners. If you have been enjoying this interview so far, and you know any other entrepreneur out there that you feel might benefit from this interview, feel free to share this interview. And also, if you know a listener that has been able to systematize their entire business and will be a right fit for this interview, send them my way and I would love to interview them. And finally, if you are ready to get started with systematizing your business and creating procedures so that you can literally work out of your business and let your business be handled by your employee, just like how Phil has described, his business is basically run by his employees. Sign up for a free trial of Sweet Process. And Phil, thanks for doing the interview. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Owen.
And we're done.